Welcome to You Know Me, a podcast of the Golden Isles. This is the Beard.
And Buddha.
What's going on, Buddha?
Hey, it is Saturday, and
This is
we've already told everyone we're in this play.
yes, and this is this is the last weekend.
The last weekend, and I think tonight is sold out, and Sunday is sold out. So
Yeah. So sorry guys if you didn't get a ticket.
I know. Sorry.
It's a good show.
Yep. Be cool to do it again, but no, I'm beat.
Yeah. It's a very physically demanding show on all the actors and actresses.
Yes, and we have 2 stars with us tonight.
Yes, 2 shining stars.
Absolutely. Why don't you start, introduce yourself, and what character you played?
Well, Hugh Breslin, and I play a character by the name of Jonathan, who actually plays a character named Charles. And I spend most of the time dead, which has its advantages. There's no speaking parts for the most part in the first act. Unlike much of the characters and casts in the rest of the play, where they have their work cut out for them and they're doing a great job. I'm the one that gets beat up a lot and stepped on, and it makes my job an easy one on the stage. So.
I am Gemma Camp. I play Sandra, who plays Florence Collymore. And I get knocked out a lot. I think 3 times, I want to say.
Yeah,
That sounds right.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah.
One with the door, one with the clock, and one with the binder.
Mm-hmm.
See, it gets easier each time. That's the
Right.
progression of a concussion.
Mm-hmm.
So the play we're talking about is The Play That Goes Wrong, and if you go to YouTube and Google that, you'll find a lot of productions of it. But usually the first one that pops up is a little 5-minute put together, I guess, 5-minute summary by the original cast they were doing for some kind of variety show in London, and it kind of pretty much tells you what the whole story is in about 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's basically a play within a play.
It's so funny, and I tell you, this has got to be the funniest play that I have ever been in.
Yeah. I wonder if the audience ever gets confused when we walk out and we're like, welcome to the murder of Hamersham Manor. Like, they're like, wait a minute, this is not complete. I thought we were coming to see.
Yeah, so you're right. I never thought about it.
Yeah, but like every time I do it, I'm like, welcome. And I'm like, are they wondering, like, wait a minute, am I in there? And then we're calling everybody else by their wrong names. So it's, because like your real name's Hugh, but in the show, you're Jonathan. Jonathan playing Charles, and you're Gemma playing
Sandra playing Florence.
So like when you're out there and we're like, Jonathan, everyone's like, wait, that's not his real name.
I know, it's crazy. It's a lot of fun. You've done some shows here. What is this? How does this compare to some of the shows you've done in the past?
Well, when I first started the Island Players is when I was first posted down here, thanks to the feds, and it was in the mid '90s, and we did some great shows. We did my first one was Second Time Around. We did Desperate Hours. So it was, we did a variety of different, some of them were your classic dramas, and some of them were your classic comedies. But this one really had a lot of moving parts to it, dangerous at times, with all of the, parts that are coming off and falling on people. The best part, and I can walk away from this experience saying honestly, great cast, just a wonderful, wonderful cast, very talented, and it's just been a pleasure working with this, and it was a challenge, especially when it came to the technical side of things. And really, my hat's off to the people in the back who are pushing the buttons and pulling the levers, making it all happen.
Yeah, and our director. I mean, this is blocking. You're blocking a play like this. This is blocking on steroids.
And she's blocking it without any of the set there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Making sure like it's, well, I don't want to give too much away if no one's already seen it, but if something goes wrong and you're not blocked right, you can get seriously hurt.
Yep. Yeah. It's blocking, it's choreography, it's timing. You have to have a very, very clear vision and stick with it. And, she did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Gemma, you are new here for the most part. How do you like the Island Players so far? How do you like Brunswick so far?
So I just moved to Brunswick at the start of August. I want to say August. I really love the Island Players, and it's like it came to me at a time that I really needed it because I was really, really struggling with everything going on, and it was just like a breath of fresh air, and it was really, really great. It's different because I usually work with casts that are my age, and I don't mind it at all. In fact, I kind of prefer it because like people are more on task. No offense to the casts I've worked on with otherwise. And I've also, a lot of the shows I've done are competition shows. So I'm used to being like judged and just waiting for like a ton of notes and having to like stick to a certain time. So it's nice to not have to do that. Yeah, I really do like it.
I was impressed. And you were new and you came to your first audition.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when I first moved here and I came to my first audition, I actually didn't know I was auditioning. Shannon kind of signed me up for it. You're standing out there, you don't know anybody, right? I mean, you didn't know me.
I didn't know anyone, not a single person.
What is that like for you to be out there and audition?
So when I was coming to audition, I knew the play. I saw it off Broadway just last summer, and I really, really loved it. And Sandra was actually like a dream role of mine at the time. But I didn't expect to get it at all. Like I was more going less to audition for the show and more to audition for the Island Players and like let them get to know me because I was doing another show at that time that was going on the same weekend. So I was like, okay, they're not going to cast me. And also her role is very, I wouldn't expect that they'd give it to someone so young. And I'm happy they did, very happy, but I just didn't expect it at all, not a single bit. So I wasn't like super scared about auditioning. And everyone was so welcoming. So it was very nice.
That was for me. I mean, for me coming in and having that first part, it was a small part and David Butler was the director. So I think that made it easier. And David Butler's been part of the Island Players for a very, very long time. And he's a great director. He's a great person to act with because he keeps things interesting. I think that helped kind of ease my way into it and want to do more shows. But my very first time showing up for the table read, and I walk in and it's like everyone's looking at me.
Mm-hmm.
And this person, her name is Melissa, she's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Frank." I got a part. And but after that it was fun. It was fun. Jeff was in that show, and so you get to know a lot of people. And you're doing such a great job, Gemma.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you're part of it because live theater needs more Gemmas. They do.
Yeah.
I'm getting old. I can't do it all. I can't keep doing shows. I like to see fresh faces. It's fun being on stage and such, but if you come to the community theater and it's like the same people in the show, in every show, every single time, it's like, where's some fresh faces? So I like more fresh faces. I like to see the variety because there's more talent on this island in Brunswick that can be on stage. So
Gemma, how did you hear about the auditions?
So I had been, before I even moved here, I was like stalking every theater in the area and I was emailing them and I was like, do you guys audition teenagers? The Island Players actually said no. They said that they only audition people 16 and up and they might not even take you unless you're 18 and up. So I think it might have been my mom actually like encouraged me to do it. And I was just, why not? I'll go. And I had auditioned for other things before it and I was just trying to make connections and introduce myself.
Oh, well, we're glad you came.
Thank you.
So Hugh, you've been in the Golden House for a while, and you've been in theater for a while. How have you seen it change?
Well, back in those days, we didn't have a lot of the electronics. It was a different house. They made modifications since I went back to D.C. and then came back here. And first show I have seen in the Island Players Casino Theater since, 1999? Or maybe it was 2000. And since then, of course, as I said, they made modifications. They've expanded the wings and the backstage. Everything looked new, and everybody was wearing a mic. And like I said, I guess it was the Little Shop of Horrors was the first one I've seen in a quarter of a century here at the theater. Most of my work since I came back, and the kids are now all grown up, was over at the Brunswick Actors Theater, where I've worked with Frank on a couple of shows, and there was a big change. Brunswick Actors Theater is a smaller venue.
Yeah.
There's no mics. You don't have microphones that you have to.
Definitely don't need mics.
No, you don't. And so it's just a completely different environment. I came from an old school where you learn to project,
Yeah.
and matter of fact, the theater very much like the one here at the casino, and they would teach us to project by, I guess, not so much yelling, but reciting your lines in such a way that you knew that you were, again, satisfying the wants of the director when you could hear the echo from the back of the theater finally reach the front of the house. And so, but it's all electronics now, which I was a little concerned about, but now I'm pretty much sold on the idea.
Yeah.
Even though it's there, but sometimes it fails, and you still have to go back to that old school. Make sure you can project, and I think sometimes having the mic, people forget that they lose. What's the word I'm looking for? They lose that thought process, I guess, of like you should always think that you don't have the mic,
Right.
because it could just like last night we had a mic issue with one of the actors, and there was more than one.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, and like if you don't project, like
Same thing. I was always taught projection. You project outwards, and the first few plays that you hear with the Avid players, we didn't have the mics. So it was something new, and I'd still not a big fan. I understand why we have the mics. It's, because we video these shows, so the sound goes right into the video, because then it would just be weird sound because the camera's so far back. But we also have it for people who have a hard of hearing. You can actually put on these little kind of Walkman things, and you're tuned into the frequency of the sound, and you can hear better. But if you hear fine and you're sitting, especially in the first few rows, it's like you can hear the speaker, but you can hear the person on the stage. And there's just like a slight delay
Yeah.
in the two. And so it's kind of like it's like a mirror effect, a rippling effect of the sound. It's just something I need to get used to.
technology is technology. Especially like the lighting. I mean, we just have upgraded lighting. I mean, the old lighting was those heat lamp lighting where you're like on stage and you're like melting.
Oh gosh, yeah. Hugh, is there a show that you've always wanted to do but you haven't done?
There is, and I have to be careful because it may be a turnoff for some of the listeners. I picked up a play by Sinclair Lewis, or Lewis Sinclair, excuse me, and it was called "It Can't Happen Here," and it was basically about he had just gotten back from Nazi Germany. They ran him out, and his wife Anne Rand was also left Europe. And he saw what was going over in Germany as far as how the National Socialists were really kind of hijacking the existing institutes and using those institutes to put themselves in power. And of course, the rest is history. And so the play is basically same premise, but it happens here in America. And so subsequently it's called It Can't Happen Here. And it was basically, it was his way of saying that don't be fooled that, we aren't susceptible to that kind of possibility.
Yeah.
So I would love to direct it, but I also know that as one of the directors said, I don't want anybody throwing rocks at my front of my theater, and so I said, okay.
That sounds interesting, though.
Yeah.
Gemma, there's got to be something out there that you'd love to get your hands on, and
There's so many. I really enjoy reading scripts and culturing myself with like all kinds of different shows. So like if I gave my true answer, it would be like so long and long and long, and I'd list a million. But I have to pick up. I have to pick one. Okay, Clue. I love.
I keep on saying I wish there was a Clue reference in this play, like the candlestick or something. Like,
well, it's close because isn't there a part when Annie's on the floor and she's kind of putting her papers together and she's saying something like that? It's like,
well, yeah, on the floor with a mustache.
yeah, on the floor with a mustache, so you could be like,
Yeah.
that should be in the library with the pipe.
How did he get murdered? On the floor.
Wait, hold on. I actually thought of a different one. I'm sorry. So I go to a summer camp every year. It's in New York, and it's like the best place ever. In my first year, they did a show called The Wolves, which is about an all-girls soccer team. And it's really good, but it's very crude. And also you're not allowed to change the lines in the show. The writers have like made it so that if you want the licensing, you have to do exactly what's in here. But it's so good, and I was bawling my eyes out by the end of it. Like the whole cast was like checking on me and making sure I was okay because it was just so good, and it deals with like loss. Oh, it's so good, and the dialogue feels so real, and I love it.
Any shows miss? I kind of started out doing a lot of musicals, like the classical stuff, like Guys and Dolls, Anything Goes. I actually did Anything Goes twice. And Little Abner, which is kind of an obscure musical, but I was in that twice. Of all things, Dog Patch USA. It's cute, and I'd kind of like to see some of those come back a little bit. We do musicals here, and they did Little Shop of Horrors here, they did a fantastic job with that.
They sure did.
And I think they're doing, was it Addams Family's coming up next? Yeah. It'd be fun to see, like Guys and Dolls or Anything Goes. I gotta be honest with you, the music of Anything Goes, I love it. There's some great songs in that, and they have big numbers. You can really cast it. You can have a lot of people because there's big tap dance numbers, and they really get into it. So it'd be a really fun show to do. That might be something on the Ritz Theater. It might be better for it, but I'd like to see some of those back again, kind of bring back some of the old Broadway classics, and see how they do here again. I know they've done them, but it's been so long.
Yeah. I always thought there was, one of the things I wanted to bring up is just how challenging doing a comedy is compared to drama. It really is. As much as I like to do drama, you know me, I'm a bit of a ham when it comes to that, but comedy can be, the timing has to be just right. The inflection has to be just right. It's tough.
And the thing with even with any play, but mostly with a comedy, is you might have one night where the audience will just laugh at the way you step on stage, and then you'll have one night where you're like nothing is hitting at all.
Especially with this show, it's so like audience reliant.
Yeah. Yes. And comedy is it's tough. It's timing, and especially like what we have here is with the because this is a British comedy. But we did a play here called Blithe Spirit, and that's a 3-act British comedy about a writer who wants to write a murder mystery about a psychopath murdering medium. So he invites this medium to do a seance in his house, and during the seance, his first dead wife, her spirit shows up. Only he can see her. Now, this is all British comedy. There's no physical comedy in a lot of these, like we're doing here. I mean, The Play Goes Wrong is just a lot of physical comedy. But there's no physical comedy here. This is all jokes. And with that, you need that timing, the tone, the tempo is all part of that joke. And you don't get all that nuances in. No one's going to get it. I mean, like here, I mean, you've got stuff going on, you're going to laugh. And even some of the jokes, you get so people primed up. There's a couple times where you can just make a look and they start laughing. So like when we look at the clock, it's getting late. And it's at 5 o'clock. And I just kind of turn and look, and like we're on the wall, and Jeff's on the phone, and he's like, at this time of night, I kind of lean forward a little bit, look at the clock, and I look at the crowd. I'm like, yes, they laugh because it's that little thing, and it's really tough. And we did, I guess, I don't know, it was half baked, a drama or a comedy.
Good question. Yeah, it was like a dark comedy, as they used to call them. It was yeah. And so that was a fun play. It was
Character development. How do you, Gemma, I noticed you had a whole notebook about your character.
Yes. So that was introduced to me because I'm going to mention Clue again. My friends were doing Clue, and this girl that I really looked up to because she was so fabulous, she was doing a character analysis sheet for her character, and I remember thinking, why would you do that? Like, what? And I hadn't really done it before. This was the first time I did it for this show. I was just really, because I hadn't acted in so long. The last time I had acted was the summer camp, because I had been doing musicals where I was just dancing. And I was really struggling to get into character, which I had never struggled with before. And I just was like, okay, I'm making the character analysis sheet. And it really helped me. And I think I'm doing it for every show I ever do now.
So what goes into the character development sheet?
So I wish I had it with me, but I always put like the name of the character, and it's like interesting things like favorite food, favorite color. Like you get like in deep, and then like where do you think they grew up, and then also you do their relationships with every character. You write the name of the character, and then I personally like to write like a medium paragraph about like what I think the relationship with the other characters would be like.
Yeah. So when you're thinking of Sandra's thinking about Max, it's just one word or two words. I hate him.
No, it wasn't that mean.
So you go based off of the actor who's playing the other characters, or the character itself?
It was Sandra's character analysis sheet, not Florence's character analysis sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then when you look at everybody else's, so like your relationship with Robert or Max or Chuck.
Yeah, I would be like, this is like how Sandra thinks of Max as a cast member.
Right. That's interesting.
That's interesting, and 'cause I've never done that.
But you know, that could almost be a whole not a project, but a class in itself.
It can be, but you know, it's funny because I bring this up because from the writer's perspective, they do that a lot. When they're writing a screenplay or a play, they will sit down a lot of times to develop the characters. You need to have depth to the character that you're writing about. So they need to have and a lot of times when you pitch, we call a show Bible, and they want the characters like an actual bio. When were they born? Where were they born? You know, that kind of, and what are they like? And what, you know, their tendencies, their likes, dislikes. Really develop a personality for that character as the writer is writing that story. So it's great that you do that as an actor, because it kind of gives you some more depth to your character. I've never done that. Maybe I should.
Well, I for one am too busy trying to memorize my lines to actually.
I know. As I'm getting older, it's like really, really hard to memorize my lines. I think Charles, or not Charles, Inspector has to remind me where I found that handkerchief every single time. I keep forgetting that line. So where did I find this? I'm like, oh yeah, it's over there. But like, how do you develop your characters? Like you've done this, you know, you have Charles here, but I mean, when we did that show together, Half Baked, you had a.
Yes, and I was just, and that's the one I was thinking about. This Charles in this play I don't want to say he's really two-dimensional. But except for those instances where I'm very frustrated because I'm making these snafus on stage, for the most part, I'm just trying to play a Hamish version of Laurence Olivier. And that all just happens during the tail end of the play. But with Half-Baked that we were in together, I kind of relied on my Brooklyn growings up, and so it was easy enough for me to just kind of bring out the character based on a lot of the people that I knew in my life, some of them were very kind, some of them were a little, I don't want to say shady, but they were, they were always kind of looking for the easy way out.
Right.
So that, and that comes oftentimes enough once I get the lines down. And there was a director we worked with says, once you have your lines down, once you've memorized them and you can recite them in your sleep, then everything else as far as your character and your relationship with the other characters in the show, it just falls into place. And it's and good advice. But he said 50 times, memorize it and then recite it 50 times. So let's it's time to do that.
Let's actually talk about that. So how, you can answer these separately, but how do you memorize your lines? What is the thought process behind, or the workings into trying to memorize the dialogue in these plays?
I am very jealous of certain peoples that have a knack of being able to look at the script a couple of times. And we have, I think, 3 people in the show that have the ability to do that. Me, I struggle. I have to turn my garage into a little studio with little lights that are beaming at me constantly, and over and over and over and over again. And I have the luxury of doing that because I'm retired, and I have the time to do that. There are many in the cast, matter of fact, most in the cast that are working very hard. I know you do, and so do you, Michael, and you're in school, and you're doing other plays on the side. And for just that in itself, I have so much admiration for you guys being able to pull this off. Me, I'm still struggling with my getting my lines down. But that's how I do it. Sometimes I have to read the script several times. And then what I'll do is I'll take the first letter of every word in each of my lines, and I'll write them out, and I'll try to memorize them that way. And then after that, it's just repetition.
Yeah.
Gemma?
So I don't really struggle with memorizing my lines. I've always been told I had a really exceptional memory, and sometimes I don't even, sorry to say this, but sometimes I don't even have to practice. There was one show I did, and I just rehearsed the line so much at rehearsal that once it was off book day, I didn't even think about it, and I put my script down and I did it. But I do practice my lines. Sometimes I have to chase my sister and make her sit down and run my lines with me. So she hates it, but she does it. And there's times where I have to memorize a monologue in a day. And when I'm struggling with that, I just write it again and again and again in a notebook, just the monologue over and over and over again. But yeah, I don't. It comes pretty easy to me.
I haven't tried that yet. That's a good suggestion.
I've seen people record. Everyone sit around and record it, reading it. There's also some apps that you can do that you can download, and you can read the script, and then for each character, you can actually change the tone of that character, so it's a different voice. It's not your voice the whole time. And then there's the brute force way, and I just do it. Like you, I'll sit down and I take page 1. I memorize all the lines on that page, repeat that again, move to the next page, start memorize half of it, go back to the first page, run through everything I memorized, then memorize more, then go back and run through everything. So it's that repetition. But if you have a really good director, like we've had a good director, Another really good director is a director by the name of Shannon Stock. They handle their rehearsals where you can actually run through the same scene a couple of times. You have that repetition on stage. I found it very easy to memorize the lines.
Yeah.
That that we were in that Little Murder Doesn't Hurt Anybody that Shannon directed, and we were able to start on time, end on time, but we would run the same scene 2 or 3 times. That repetition, like you, Gemma, were saying, like you're just doing it so much, you just get used to doing it. I didn't struggle that much with learning the lines, and I think we had a good enough repetition here that a lot of stuff just kind of sank in. But I don't know about you guys, but there's always that one line or 1 or 2 lines that just never sticks in your head at all, and not until maybe like the very last show or something like that. But it's one of those things that's like, I can't believe I can never remember this line. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. It's well, it seems like every night there's always some place within the in the show where sometimes I use the term brain fog, but you just all of a sudden you just go blank.
Oh yeah. Or you get so caught up into like the scene that you forget you're supposed to say something. You're like, because this is, I'm like, this is really cool. Like, oh wait, I got a line.
Yeah, that's happened where you're like, oh wait, yes, I gotta say something right now.
That's the thing. This is live theater, and that's the pitfalls. I think we've got enough experience around this table. We've all had some fun live theater stories of forgetting lines, or these actors like to play jokes on each other on stage, and you haven't got it yet, Jen.
No, I haven't, and I'm really scared.
2 more nights left. We'll see what happens. Yeah. I know there's one show we were at. There's a little rat we have laying around here. Not a real rat. It's a little toy rat or something like that. And I found it. And we were doing the show, and we had a new, fresh face on the stage with us. And I thought I would kind of startle her, so I put that right where she was going to sit down. Didn't pay any attention to it at all. I'm like, oh. It wasn't until I made a little joke because 2 other actors were talking, and I kind of made a little wisecrack to her, and she just started laughing so hard she couldn't see her lines. It was just sitting there. I was, got it. But I've heard some stories. I've been the victim of a few jokes here from other actors. But yeah, it's fun to do. Do you have any kind of fun stuff that has happened?
I usually like to plan things around, just like the rat. Nothing that really springs out, but I'm always the one that puts something that's out of view. But if you're actually kind of on the stage and you're panning from left to right, all of a sudden you kind of catch that thing that's just on the ledge of a bookshelf that just shouldn't be there, and it's just really a rather odd object. And you're like, what is that? So, and I've already set up things here on stage. Nobody's picked up on them yet, but I'm sure it'll happen.
Just to keep an eye out.
Yeah, I got to keep an eye out because I'm just sitting there watching everything happen. So, actually, I got a question for you, Gemma.
Oh,
so I don't want to give away too much, but when you get knocked out, and
which time?
the first time,
Okay.
and you're getting basically like picked up like a rag doll. How do you what do you do with your body? Because you're just like,
I just like, I make sure to stay stiff so that it's easy for them to pick me up when they're picking me up. And then at the times where I like flail, I just kind of, I don't know how to describe it. I just like flail. And I like to think my back is very flexible, so I'm able to like bend backwards pretty far. But there was one night where I don't know who it was, but like someone took a while to like get there and help. It might have been you.
it might have been him.
It might have been. Took a while to get there and bring me up. So I was just like upside down, like straight just upside down for maybe like a while. And it was so. The hardest part with that scene is keeping a straight face.
Yeah.
And like not, and being knocked out. it's
Yeah,
difficult.
every time I'm like, oh my God, we're going to break here. I'm like,
No, it doesn't hurt at all.
I never get to see it.
so it is like I don't know, like in my point of view, it's like I'm terrified. I'm like, because especially when you actually get over the window, like I'm like, please just don't hit your right.
I think it might be obvious, but everybody's like leaning over you and going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Yeah. That's a intense scene.
Yeah.
It's funny, but it's like for us, it's like the most I think intense scene to make sure that you don't get hurt.
It was so funny. That cracks me out.
Yeah.
It's a very funny scene.
Yeah, the audience just is it's like I don't know, you can't see them because you're
I can hear them
you
though.
can hear them, but they are they're just going crazy. It is so funny.
It really is.
Yeah, the whole play is all the physical comedy is hilarious.
Have you ever been in something this physical before, Gemma or Hugh?
No, and all my black and blue marks all over my body will attest to that.
I think we should have had a chiropractor worked into the budget so we can
Surprised
just
we
get
didn't have the Len County Fire Rescue Station outside.
Yeah, you'd use the island player budget to have a chiropractor in the back after each scene.
I was in a show called She Kills Monsters. There was lots of stage combat. It's really hard to explain, but it's set in like a D&D world. So there was lots of sword fighting, and I got to wield an axe, which was like the best thing ever. And we took lots of stage combat classes for that. So I have done something like I don't know which one was more. I feel like this one was more physical because it was more hands-on stage combat than like weapon stage combat. But it was handled really well, and it like I want to mention something, but it also spoils not this show, the other show. Okay, so there's a character in the show that maybe possibly dies while the show is happening, and whoever this was, not me, but okay, maybe it was me. So when I die, someone had left a sword on the stage, and it wasn't like a foam sword. It was like a plastic sword, and my rib fell straight onto the sword. But other than that, it was handled so well. The stage combat was amazing. The director, Miss Kelly Finley, I love her so much. She did it like so wonderfully, and yeah.
You should never underestimate the importance of the prop manager to make sure.
Yeah.
When I was fresh out of college, I worked at the Folger, a Shakespeare theater group in D.C. And one night, and we were doing Richard, and the actor had his sword, and they were using a metal sword, which probably and that's before we had the luxury of some of the plastic that we use today. And he flung it from his chest out towards the audience, and the blade went flying and hit a pregnant woman. Fortunately, it hit her. Not the pointy end, but on the flat side. Fortunately, a good friend of mine, Tom Madden, who was the house manager, closed everything down, which didn't. The actual director wasn't keen on that, but he said, "No, we have to get an ambulance here and check this person out." And she was fine, everything was fine, but it was, somebody lost their job because they didn't spend the time at the beginning of the show that night checking to make sure everything was in place and was working and wasn't going to go flying off into the wild blue yard or into the crowd.
Oh my God. That's almost like a Monty Python type of thing. Like, because I was like stuck in some guy's chest out in the audience.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary though. But
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, with theater, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that the audience never really gets to see.
Especially with the show.
Yeah, I mean, like the way that the stuff falls or the platform falls or this and that. I don't want to give too much away. That's why I'm being very vague about it. But yeah, with any show, like there's people, like you mentioned before, pulling the levers, doing, all that, making sure that the props are where they're supposed to be. When the scene changed, make sure that the scenery is changed or, especially if you're going from like a Christmas scene to a spring scene, but you forget to take off some of the Christmas stuff. So now you're supposed to be in spring, and then you got like a Christmas tree still in the background, you know?
It's amazing what happens backstage sometimes. I was backstage for a play called I'll Be Back Before Midnight. And on the set, they had 2 French doors that open and close by themselves.
Oh.
And I'm like laying flat on my belly, pushing the doors open because the doors are way that you couldn't see. But then I had a pulley system with these little tiny ropes that I can pull and pull the door shut again. And I think it made a great effect. And then, you know, that whole thing about sound effects, things like that, there's supposed to be scratching noise as well. We had a brick with one of those little handheld garden rakes, and we were just dragging it across. And that made the sound effects. And then for the broken glass, we had a box with glass in it, and we just pick it up and drop it. And glass broke, and it had the sound of breaking glass. And all that's done backstage. And that always kind of amazes me how people backstage do what they do and come up with some of these things. And it was a challenge for me because the pulley thing, that was my idea. It's like, how are we going to get this? Well, we can do this. And I built it and I tried it out because that was cool about this place because they let you do that. It's something I've never done before, actually. I've never done anything like this before. So that was my thing. So then that was my responsibility. The other part was it was a very creepy movie. And between scenes, they had reset some props and things like that. I had black mask on, black gloves, black jacket, black pants, and I'd creep out onto the stage. Like I'm like checking this place out, and I'd actually move all the stuff around that needed to be moved around.
Yeah.
But each time the scene, I'd come from a different angle. Like I'd come through the doors, the French doors, or I'd come down. They had these stairs that look like there's a second story. I'd come down the stairs and into the room. And so everyone was just kind of like, ooh, what's going on? And so it was really kind of weird and interesting, but you get a lot of experience. I got a lot of experience here of all the shows that I've done, because I was usually just on the stage, you know, and they're bigger productions, and usually the actors and the chorus, or you're kind of with each other. You really don't know too many people who are doing the backstage stuff, and that's how it goes. But here, I've been on stage, I've been backstage. I haven't done the lights and sound yet, but I don't trust myself. I would definitely screw that up to the point where it's like, they'd be like, Buddha, what did you do? I'm like, I don't know. I just pressed a button and the whole thing just started smoking. That's my luck. That is totally my luck. So I'm like, don't ask me because I don't want to destroy anything. But it's a lot of fun, and you have these experiences. Gemma, you've got a long career ahead of you. Is that something that you plan on doing? Is that something you want to go to college for drama?
I've been thinking about that a lot recently because I always like a plan for myself, but I don't know because the career security is so bad. It's horrible. I'm going to pursue other things so that I have a backup plan, but I would definitely like to also pursue that. So I'm going to do psychology and theater. I think that's what I'm planning on doing.
Would you rather stay with theater or go into film if you could, if you go down that path?
I don't know. I think the way that stories are told through film is so different. And also with film, they don't shoot everything in chronological order. So it could be harder to do, like, acting wise, and being like, okay, I now have to do the scene after my mom died, but she hasn't died yet. So I don't really like have that whole thing in my head. So I feel like, I don't know. I think I'd like to do a mix of both.
Yeah. I understand about that part because I filmed a commercial in San Diego, and they filmed it, like, they gave me the script, and I'm reading the script, and I'm like, okay, I got to say this person says this, and I go out there and they're like, okay, we're going to film the last part first. And I'm like, wait a minute, I had my emotions, like, but now you're right, you got to build on the emotions that you thought you were going to build on to film that. And the thing about theater, what I like is it's live. Like, if you film something, you got to wait 6, 8, a year for it to come out, and critics will be like, "Yeah, I loved it. Oh, it was great. It sucked." Right? But at least with theater, that one night, right? People loved it, and you're like, "Okay, that's awesome." And if people didn't like it, then you're like, "Okay, I know what I need to work on for the next night."
Well, also with film is you do that scene over and over. How many takes do you actually do? Is it Stanley Kubrick in Rosemary's Baby? There's a couple scenes where they did 120 takes.
Oh, The Shining.
Yeah. And The Shining, yeah, it's The Shining. It was The Shining. Yeah, 120 takes. That one scene where she's hitting Jack with a baseball bat.
Right.
It actually almost drove her nuts.
She almost could pick up the bat again.
Yeah.
So, and you're right. It's filmed out of order, and you kind of have to have the emotion in the moment.
Yeah.
Whereas in live theater, is you can build that up to that moment, but you only have one take.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
And you have to memorize your lines. At least with the film, you could be like, "All right, we're taking another take," and you could be like, "All right, okay, I'm ready."
Well, you can memorize like this. You usually get a shooting schedule, so you know when you need to memorize what. Here, you get the script. You just start memorizing from page 1 to the end of the page book, and I think that's what's fun about live theater, because it's live, it's entertaining. You get to interact with the crowd, especially in this play. There's a little bit of interaction with the crowd.
I don't get to do any.
You can. I got something
Sandra
for
would
you.
never, though.
I got something for you tonight.
Okay.
It's a little something, but I think it'll be funny.
Yeah.
So Hugh, as you've been here for a while, how have you seen the community change towards community theater?
That's always been a concern of. I've always wondered whether or not, like many of the arts, whether or not it's, I guess, not within the interests or the fancy of young people. Unfortunately, I'm being proven wrong thanks to this young lady here, but I don't see as many young people as I would like. It was I know we struggled over at the studio downtown trying to really bring young people. Sometimes they're tied up doing theater at school, and that's okay. But when it comes to some of the more traditional community theater, it can be a bit of a struggle.
Right, it can be.
So,
And there's a handful of theaters here. We have the Island Players, the Brunswick Actors Guild, or
Theater.
theater.
Yeah.
Encore, which is brand new. We had Josh on here not that long ago. So at least we're getting a couple more places where we can in. But Brunswick and St. Simons has a nice diverse culture, and hopefully in the high schools here, Glen Academy and Brunswick High School, have great theater programs.
Yeah.
There's very talented kids going through there. And looking at Gemma. So it'd be nice to get but they're tied up with this school and whatever they're doing there. So it's hard to kind of coax them away. But we've got a few up and coming stars. I think most of them are in Cabaret this weekend.
Yeah. Billy.
Billy, Audrey, and Josh.
Yeah.
Jake.
Rin.
Oh, yep. So that's nice to see, and hopefully they'll keep doing it. And I know some of them will be here after us. After the play that goes wrong is Adam's Family. Yeah. And so looking forward to see that. For me, I'll tell you, and this is going to end up in a question. Like for me, I've done the show. If people have seen it, you've seen how physical it is. I get, I slip, I trip, I get thrown into a couch, I get thrown over a couch, I'm in a sword fight, I get thrown out the door. But, there's the commitment. There's the commitment of the rehearsals and commitment to 9 shows, and it's a lot. And for me, it's like, okay, I'm probably not going to audition for another year or so because I just need that break, because you're all consuming about this show. You like this, do you want to hop from show to show, or?
I tell you what, when I first getting back into it, when I the longest time after I left the Folger in D.C., and as you know, I became got into law enforcement and did that up until I got posted here in Glencoe. Then I went back to D.C. and gave the theater a break. And then I came back, I did one show, then I had the family. And so, and so getting, when I'm not doing it, I miss it terribly. And when I'm doing it, I promise myself, that's it, never again. It's, the only thing I could compare it is before I became a police officer, I did fire rescue. And every time we wound up doing a code, and it's the dynamics of trying to bring somebody back to life can be, it really does play with your mind and your emotions, and then you get back to the station house and you're like, never again, I'm going to put in my resignation because I never want to go through that again. And then you're back at it the next day, and you wouldn't want to give it up for anything.
Yeah, I almost find it addicting. Like I tell myself the same thing. I'm like, nope, I am taking a break, and then somebody's like, hey, can you backstage for me? And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's like you're at the driving range, you hit that perfect shot. You have 100 other really bad shots, but you hit it right on the sweet spot, and it sails down the driveway, and you're hooked. You do it again. That's the same thing for me. Like last night, at the end of my scene as Cecil, audience just erupted, and I think it was one of the biggest responses I got. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh my God, this is great! I love this." Mm-hmm. So it's like hitting the sweet spot. It's like, but I know it's like after Sunday, I'm like, I need a break. Mm-hmm. But it's that when the audience is reacting. I think you guys like the same with this. You feed off of that, and your energy level can go up. It can go down. I think we had the best crowd Friday night. Yeah. So far, so if the crowd is like, you kind of end up getting, But like if you have a really high energy, they laugh at everything. As soon as you walk out, step on stage, they're chuckling, and you have a good crowd. You play right into it. And I think that's what kind of keeps people coming back, is you have those kind of nights.
Yeah. Well, Mike said it. It said some nights you do the exact same thing, and everybody's rolling, and they laugh, they cry, they beg for more.
So as we wrap up, tonight is show 8.
It's show number 8.
8, and then we got show 9 tomorrow. So thank you to everybody that has come out and seen the show. And if you have tickets, and this is, of course, you're gonna hear this after, because it's gonna come out after the show. Hopefully everybody enjoyed the show. Thank you to Hugh. Thank you to Gemma for
Thank you.
Yeah, for coming on here, talking with us, and your experiences and the show, all that nice good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for everyone who supports the arts here in Brunswick and the Golden Isles. And there's the Island Players. Look them up online. The Casino Theater, Brunswick Actors out on Newcastle Street, Bridge Theater, Encore. There's plenty of places to enjoy some live theater. And the next show coming up here is Addams Family as a musical. That should be very good.
Mm-hmm. Good cast, and
very good cast as well. So thank you guys for coming. But you're already here.
Yeah.
We actually hog-tied them down. You don't see this, but they're actually tied down in their chairs.
Yeah.
They're forced to do this podcast. And let's have a good show tonight.
Yeah. Break a leg, everybody.
Break a leg.
Thank you.
Thank you.